Hello, everybody, and welcome to another daily Bible reading with me. And we're doing Second Chronicles chapter 9 today. Second Chronicles chapter 9. And if you haven't seen us before, we read the Bible here live every single day. So we've done every book of the original covenant. This is the last book, and then we're going to be doing the renewed covenant, which we've done many of those already. Let's open up in prayer. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Baruch Shem Kibo, Mahuto, Leolam Vaed. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words which I command you this day be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and upon your gates. Hallelujah. Okay, everybody, we're reading Second Chronicles chapter 9. And as we discussed when we did the introduction to Second Chronicles, the first 9 chapters are about the reign of Solomon. We discussed Solomon asking for wisdom and building a temple and dedicating the temple, and all about his riches and his wisdom. Now, tomorrow we're going to be starting chapter 10, and 10 to the end of the book talks about the kingdom of Judah, the northern tribes of the revolt, the historical apostasy and return, and Judah exiled to Babylon. So we'll be discussing that in the next part. But we're finishing the beginning of this book, which is the reign of Solomon. And we're looking today at the visit of the Queen of Sheba. This is one of the more popular stories in the scriptures. And we start off right here, and it says, when the Queen of Sheba heard of Solomon's fame, she came to Jerusalem to test him with hard questions. She arrived with a large group of attendants and a great caravan of camels loaded with spices, large quantities of gold, and precious jewels. When she met with Solomon, she talked with him about everything she had on her mind. So that was verse 1 there. Now the note for the next couple of verses, it says, the Queen of Sheba had heard about Solomon's wisdom, but let's get this closer. But she was overwhelmed when she saw for herself the fruits of that wisdom. Although Solomon had married Pharaoh's daughter, he still sincerely tried to follow Yahweh at this stage in his life. When people get to know you and ask hard questions, will your responses reflect Yahweh? Your life can be a powerful witness to let others see Yahweh at work in you. Okay, verse 2 says, Solomon had answers for all of her questions. Nothing was too hard for him to explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba realized how wise Solomon was, and when she saw the palace he had built, she was overwhelmed. She was so amazed at the food on his table, the organization of his officials and their splendid clothing, the cupbearers and their robes, and the burnt offerings Solomon made at the temple of Yahweh. So the note here says in the One New Bible, the sitting of his servants refers to the high-ranking officials who ate at his table, while the standing attention referred to the waiters. Okay, verse 5 goes on to read, she exclaimed to the king, and it's very interesting they call it a Queen of Sheba. So far, her name hasn't been given. Let's see if it is. But the Queen of Sheba. She exclaimed to the king, everything I heard in my country about your achievements and wisdom is true. I didn't believe what was said until I arrived here and I saw it with my own eyes. In fact, I had not heard of the half of your great wisdom. It is far beyond what I was told. How happy your people must be. What a privilege for your officials to stand here day after day, listening to your wisdom. Praise Yahweh, your Elohim, who delights in you and has placed you on the throne as king to rule for him. Because Yahweh loves Israel and desires this kingdom to last forever. He has made you king over them so you can rule with justice and righteousness. And the note says here, the queen of Sheba marveled at Solomon's claiming that Yahweh must love his people greatly to give them such a king. Israel greatly prospered during Solomon's reign, witnessing to Yahweh's power and his love for his people. The good times show Yahweh's love and faithfulness, but hard times come to believers too. Perseverance and steadfast hope during those times will demonstrate our love and faithfulness to Yahweh. All right, hallelujah. Now we read verse 10. Well, verse 9. Then she gave the king 9,000 pounds of gold, great quantities of spices, and precious jewels. Never before had there been spices as fine as those of the queen Sheba gave to King Solomon. Wow, what a blessing. It says, with a talent of at 75 pounds, this was a great deal of wealth, a tremendous deal of wealth she gave. That was from the One New Man Bible. Verse 10, in addition to the crews of harem, and then Solomon brought gold from Ophir, and they also brought sandalwood and precious jewels. Verse 11, the king used the sandalwood to make steps for the temple of Yahweh in the royal palace, and to construct lyres and harps for the musicians. Never before had such beautiful things been seen in Judah. And the note here says sandalwood was a smooth red-colored wood that accepts high polish. And the beautiful wood was extremely expensive. Verse 12. King Solomon gave the queen of Sheba whatever she asked for, gifts of greater value than the gifts she had given him. Then she and all her attendants returned to their own land. Wow. So there was a lot of giving here, right? And it's just amazing. So he gave her whatever she asked for. Wow. His heart was easy swayed, in other words. So we look at Solomon's wealth. Each year, Solomon received 25 tons of gold. This did not include the additional revenue he received from merchants and traders, and all the kings of Arabia and the governors of the province also brought gold and silver to Solomon. The note here says for 13, at least 4,660 pounds of gold we're looking at. Verse 15 says, King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold, each weighing more than 15 pounds. He also made 300 smaller shields and hammered gold, each weighing more than 7.5 pounds. The king placed these shields at the palace of the forest of Lebanon. And the note here says the target, also called a buckler, was a superior shield and protected the shoulders, the soldiers on three sides. The 600 shekels and the 600 shekels weighed 15 pounds. Wow. Verse 17. The king then made a huge throne decorated with ivory and overlaid with pure gold. The throne had 6 steps with footstool of gold. There were armrests on both sides of the seat, and the figure of a lion stood on each side of the throne. There was also 12 other lions, one standing on each of the 6 steps. No other throne in all the world could be compared with it. All of Solomon's drinking cups were solid gold with all the utensils in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. As were all the utensils in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. They were not made of silver, for silver was considered worthless in Solomon's day. The king had a fleet of trading ships and tarnished manned by the sailors sent by Hiram. Once every 3 years, the ships returned loaded with gold, silver, iron, apes, and peacocks. Wow. Wow. Let's look at 21 in, apes and peacocks. Okay. And let's see what it says here about that. 21. Or baboons. I never saw that before. The ships returned with these animals here. So King Solomon became richer and wiser than any other king on earth. Kings from every nation came to consult him to hear the wisdom Yahweh had given him. Year after year, everyone brought him gifts of silver and gold, clothing, weapons, spices, horses, and mules. Verse 25, Solomon had 4,000 stalls for his horses and chariots, and he had 12,000 horses. He stationed some of them in the chariot cities and some near him in Jerusalem. He ruled over all the kings of the Euphrates River, in the north to the land of the Philistines, to the borders of Egypt in the south. The king made silver and plentiful in Jerusalem as stone, and valuable cedar timber was as common as the sycamore fig trees that grow in the foothills of Judah. Verse 28, Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and many other countries. And then verse 29 says, the rest of the events of Solomon's reign from the beginning to the end are recorded in the record of the Nathan the prophet, and a prophecy from Elijah from Shiloh, and also from the visions of Iddo the seer concerning Jeroboam, son of Nebat. The note for 29 says, for the rest of Solomon's story, you could see 1 Kings 10:26 to 11:43. In his last years, Solomon turned away from Yahweh and led the nation into worship of idols. Very sad, very sad. And verse 30 reads, Solomon ruled in Jerusalem over all Israel for 40 years. When he died, he was buried in the city of David, named for his father. Then his son Rehoboam became the next king. We'll be reading about the kingdom of Judah tomorrow and so on for the rest of this chapter. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching this today, our daily Bible readings. You can see more on our website, TorahLifeMinistries.org. Everybody have a blessed day out there today. Have a blessed Sabbath. Yahweh be with you all, and shalom, shalom.